All right, Donald, let's talk about this little thing here. The White House isn't a king's castle. It's not a personal scrapbook. It's not a petty little yearbook where you get to scribble in the margins about who you liked and who you didn't. It's the people's house, Donnie. And that matters because inside that building, whether people cheered for them or couldn't stand them, there have been presidents who were elected by the people of these United States. Not saints, not demons, elected officials chosen by voters, entrusted with power. And yes, on both sides, you're always going to have people who look at certain names and go, yeah, but they did harm, or yeah, but they were corrupt, or yeah, but they lied, or yeah, but they ruined things. That's normal. That's politics. People can disagree about how history judges people, and people can be honest about the damage that gets done. But that conversation is supposed to happen out here, in the public square, in the press, in classrooms, in books, in documentaries, at the dinner table, at the ballot box. Not by you turning the inside of our shared civic home into a little stage for personal grudges. Because the White House isn't just a building, it's a symbol, Donnie. It's a symbol of peaceful transfer of power. I don't know anything about that, I understand, but it's a symbol that says no matter how hard we fought, the winner comes in, the loser leaves, and the country keeps going. So when you treat the walls of that place like a place to settle scores, when the message becomes less history and more, I'm still mad, that's not patriotism, that's insecurity dressed up like authority. And it's also a really specific kind of message you're sending to the public. You're saying, this place is for my version of America, not the whole America, not the complicated America, not the America where people disagree and still have equal standing, just the America where your side gets to speak in permanent marker and everyone else is expected to smile politely and take it. And here's what's wild to me. You don't even seem interested in the usual language people even use to pretend they're serving something bigger than themselves. You don't really talk like someone carrying a public trust. You talk like someone keeping score. You don't sound like someone treating power as temporary. You sound like someone treating it as personal. And that's the problem, because when the mindset is me instead of us, everything public starts getting handled like it's private property. The symbols start getting used like props. The building starts getting treated like a stage, and the country gets reduced to an audience. That's not how this works, Donald. If you're going to be in that house, you have to act like it belongs to the people, even when it doesn't flatter you, even when restraint feels like an insult, even when you'd rather dominate the moment than protect the institution. Because the whole point of self-government isn't that we all agree. It's that the rules apply to all of us, especially when it's hard. And here's the thing, Donald. Yes, people should criticize, people should debate, people should protest, people should write the op-eds, people should organize, people should vote. People should do the slow, boring, grown-up work of living in a country with other human beings. That's literally the point. That's what the public is supposed to do when they disagree with power. But you don't like that. You treat disagreement like disrespect. You treat criticism like betrayal. You treat protest like a personal attack. You act like the only right way to respond to you is silence or applause or loyalty. And then you turn around and do something actually disrespectful to the public, and you want it framed as strength. Like you're just telling it like it is, or you're being tough, or you're winning. But that's the tell right there. Right. When you can't control the public conversation, you try to control the public space. When you can't force people to praise you, you try to rewrite the room they're standing in. And that's why I'm saying this isn't just a choice or a style or a joke or a little jab. It's the people's house, Donnie. It's not your canvas. So don't pretend it's normal or healthy for the people's house to be used like a trophy case for humiliating your opponents. Don't normalize the idea that the White House is the place where you get to carve your grudges into the decor. Don't turn a symbol of shared government into a backdrop for, look who I owned. Because today it's just words on a wall, tomorrow it's just a little rule change, then it's just a new loyalty test, then it's just a list of who counts as real Americans. We're already there. That slope isn't hypothetical, obviously. That's the oldest play in the book. And the hypocrisy is right there in the gut of it. Let's be real, you would lose your ever-loving mind if an incoming president walked into the White House, looked at your portrait, and decided to update your plaque with a little jab. You wouldn't call it free speech. You wouldn't call it truth-telling. You'd call it an outrage. You'd call it un-American. You'd turn it into a crisis on every network that would listen. So don't tell me it's about principle. It's about permission. It's about who gets to be petty and still be called strong, who gets to degrade and still be called patriotic, and who gets to rewrite the tone of the country and pretend it's just telling it like it is. But leadership, real leadership, Donnie, is restraint. It's understanding that power is temporary and the house is not yours. And it's also understanding that if you poison the shared spaces, if you make the symbols feel hostile, then you're teaching the public something. You're teaching people that the state is a weapon, that public space is a taunt, that politics is not persuasion, it's domination. And once that lesson sinks in, people stop believing there's any point in playing fair. They stop believing the system belongs to them. They stop believing they have a place in the people's house. Because the White House isn't supposed to feel like a threat. It's supposed to feel like an institution that outlives whoever sits in the chair, a place that can hold conflict without turning into a bully pulpit for personal ego. And if you can't treat it like that, Donald, if you can't handle it with restraint, with dignity, with basic understanding that you are a temporary occupant, then you're not strengthening the country. You're continuing to prove that you're not fit to hold that office in the first place.